Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Colette. Discover the world. Guided travel since 1918.
Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday, the second Thursday of June 2026, and greetings from Claremore, Oklahoma. You may want to know why I'm here in Claremore. It's easy. We're doing a multi-part television special as part of my Hidden series on PBS that'll be airing this November to coincide with the actual 100th birthday of Route 66. So we've been all throughout Oklahoma, Claremore, El Reno, Oklahoma City, Weatherford, an amazing trip down true American history on the rivers, in the canals. That's right. And of course, we've been in Texas, we've been in New Mexico, we've been in California, and from here we head to Missouri, and then from Missouri to Illinois. And that entire multi-part special will start airing in November, which coincides again with the 100th birthday of the Mother Road. Lots of stuff to talk about in the news. Let's start with more problems in the airspace and on the ground in Iran. And even the latest tweet this morning on Truth Social from the president saying that he's about to, I'll use his words, bomb the shit out of them tonight. Of course, that's setting markets in a little bit of a tailspin. It's also upsetting airspace and airlines that were just about to go back into service in the Gulf. So everybody's just waiting to see if Trump doesn't change his mind. Again, we'll be watching that space. Speaking of that, I have to say it. Let's go Knicks. I just threw that in there. Unbelievable game last night. We watched it here in Claremore. By the end of the half, I was ready to call it a night. I came back to the hotel, and then just out of boredom to see how badly they were going to lose, I turned the TV back on with about 3 minutes to go and could not believe what I was seeing. I'm sure anybody watching, even if you're a Spurs fan, could not believe what you were seeing. The biggest comeback in NBA final history, and we got to witness it last night. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And we'll see what happens tomorrow when the games move to not too far from here in San Antonio. But moving along, speaking of sports, today begins the World Cup in the U.S. 16 U.S. cities hosting the games. A huge number of games being played. But going back to what we've been talking about on this program before, the dramatic drop in foreign visitors to the United States continues because the perception is still very much there that we are unwelcoming and inhospitable as a nation based on the Trump administration's visa and immigration policies, or I should say their proposed visa and immigration policies. Let me go back and refresh your memory. You may remember that the government has proposed a $250 visa charge just to get the visa if they want to give you one. They've also proposed that the posting of a $15,000 bond to make sure that once you get the visa, you don't overstay your welcome. And last but not least, they proposed you submitting 5 years of your social media history before they ever even consider giving you the visa. Now, those are all proposals. None of them have gone into play. And yet, the mere mention of them have sent people running from coming to this country. That's why Europe's going to be jammed this summer, because nobody's coming here. When I say nobody, I'm speaking in relative terms. And what the administration says they've done, in fact, we had the head of FIFA, the task force, Andrew Giuliani, on our radio show talking about it, is they've basically put together a fast track, fast pass visa system for people who want to come to the games. And under that theory or that system, if you could prove you have tickets to the game, they put you to the front of the visa line so you can get in. But wait a second. How long is that line, even if you're at the front of it? And we just saw that the system's not working that well. They're denying entry to a number of people trying to come to the United States, including one of the key referees of the game because he happens to be from Somalia, a Trump unfavorite. So it's a little bit of a mess. Now, Will people go to the games? Yes. Will the foreign fans get here and the numbers they're expecting? Absolutely not. 3 weeks ago, FIFA gave back 10,000 hotel rooms they no longer needed. That should tell you everything. So what about the ticket brokers who are expecting a huge premium and all the block tickets they were holding to get rid of at sky-high prices? Those prices are coming down. Now, will the stadiums be full? Of course they will. But who's going to go? Americans who are waiting to the last minute to buy not scalper tickets, but discounted tickets. Let's see what happens. Remember, all those hotels that thought they were in for a windfall were not only charging very high rates, they were demanding week-long minimum stays at those rates. Those rooms just got handed back to them. Think about the loss of revenue there that can never be recouped. Not to mention retail, restaurants, theme parks, all the other attractions that happen, not to mention retail and shopping that won't be happening because those visitors are not going to be here. Now, if there's any good news here, it's that the fast pass, fast track system that they've created for these games are now can be maybe perfected for the 28 Olympics, right? So something to think about and hope that they figure that out. All right, moving along. Some of you may have seen this already this week because I posted it, but we're going to run it again because it speaks to an airline's operational reliability. It speaks to passenger rights or lack thereof, and why we need a seriously delineated, detailed airline passenger bill of rights at the federal level. Because if there are no consequences for airline bad behavior, then the bad behavior continues. And by the way, I travel just like you do. I'm affected by delays and cancellations like you are. But it's not just the delays and the cancellations that we're talking about. It's the communication from the airline. It's their accountability. It's their level of responsibility. And oh yeah, let's not forget telling the truth. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my recent flight from LaGuardia to Oklahoma City. Hi everybody, Peter Greenberg here. It's about 10 minutes to midnight here at LaGuardia in New York. I've been here for about 8 hours. So let me tell you why I've been here for 8 hours. Let's start with the fact I was supposed to leave here on a nonstop flight at 7:29 p.m. from LaGuardia to Oklahoma City. The airline at about 5 o'clock canceled the flight. Why did they cancel the flight? They claimed operational issues. We dug a little deeper. They said, oh, it's because of air traffic congestion. Gee, why could that be? Could it be because the airline scheduled unrealistically beyond the capacity of the air traffic control system to handle it? You got it. That's number one. So what did they do? I got on the phone and they said to me, oh, the earliest they can get me out is at 1:37 tomorrow afternoon, which loses the entire day in Oklahoma City. I didn't believe that for a second. I hung up, called back. Turns out I was right. They could get me out at 8:29 this evening on a flight to Chicago, which would force you to overnight in Chicago and then fly out in the morning to Oklahoma City. That would get in at about 10:40 in the morning. All right, better than nothing. So we did that. But wait, what am I supposed to do in Chicago for 7 hours? Hotel. They didn't want to give me the hotel. I bitched. They gave me the hotel. But we're just getting started. Back to LaGuardia, and the 8:29 flight is delayed because they now have to substitute equipment. They didn't like the plane that we were going to be on. They put another plane on that was then going to leave at 9:28, then 9:58. At 9:58, they delayed it again to 10:45. Now, they kept on saying we were going to be boarding at about 10:10. The problem was the incoming flight didn't land until 10:10. You know what that means? They got to get everybody off the plane. They got to clean the plane. They got to fuel the plane. Then we get to board. So we finally board. We're in our seats at about 11:20 when they announced, and we're in our seats. Oh, we have a flat tire. We're going to have to jack up the plane, change the tire, but in order to do that, you have to get off the plane. What does that mean? Back out to the terminal again. Now, here's where I am right now. If you look at the departure board, it says we're going to be leaving at 11:45. No, we're not. We're leaving at 12:40. Now, the only saving grace is the crew didn't time out yet. Now, here's the fun part. After all of this, you know what the airline gave everybody on the plane? Try to control your excitement. A meal voucher for $12. You know what $12 buys you at LaGuardia? A photograph of the food you would have gotten in 1948. Now, what's the compensation everybody's going to really get from American? Are you ready? They might give some people a little reward of 5,000 bonus miles you can't redeem. So repeat after me. 3 words that are now synonymous with American Airlines. What's the point? Now, we define service as not the delivery of the service. We define great service as how an airline recovers when everything screws up. I think you'd agree with me, they're not recovering well. And now, here's the end of the story. What time did our flight leave LaGuardia for Chicago? Well, remember they had to jack up the plane to replace the tire, reboard everybody, and then wait on the runway. We left around midnight. Actually, that's what time we pushed back. We weren't airborne until 1 a.m. We got to Chicago, 2 in the morning Chicago time. Now they did promise me an airport hotel for the spending of about 3 hours before I had to turn around and go back to the airport to fly back to Oklahoma City. Well, it was a hotel, all right, not an airport hotel. It was about 7 miles away. It was a Baymont hotel, and judging by the design of the hotel, the decor, the low-level fluorescent lighting, it was a combination of a drive-by shooting and, well, you can understand. At 6 o'clock in the morning, had to come back. The hotel did have a shuttle, but no space, so another $40 Uber ride back to the airport, check in for the flight to Oklahoma City, and you guessed it, American was another hour and a half late. So there's one little compensation, and that is, I wasn't planning to go to Chicago, right? I was planning to take the nonstop flight from LaGuardia to Oklahoma City. But because I was in Chicago, and because the American Airlines flight was late, here's my compensation. Stay right there. I got to buy my favorite, best popcorn in the world from Garrett's. Right? Now, whatever happened to that $12 meal coupon they offered me, I'm framing it. And by the way, I'm still waiting for my letter from American apologizing with more miles that I can't redeem. That's not compensation. That's just a continuation of the insult. And therein lies the story. But there's a bigger story here. And as I said at the beginning, it gets down to what are your rights when a situation like this happens. The only time an airline's off the hook is if it's out of their control, like weather. That's about it, right? Now, they might claim air traffic delay, but not all the time. But in this situation, everything that they claimed, as we discovered later, was under their control. And what kind of compensation did they really give out? Not really a lot. And most people didn't get the hotel. I got it because I screamed a lot. And the hotel they gave me included a lot of screaming, if you get the picture. Now, what do we need to do? There's never been a delineated, enforceable airline passenger bill of rights in the United States. They have one in Europe. It's called the European Union Rule 261. It's been around a lot longer than we've even discussed about airline rights in this country, and it works. Where are our passenger bill of rights in the year 2026? Right? The U.S. Secretary of Transportation calls us to go back to the golden age of transportation. There was never a golden age of transportation. We just dressed better to be similarly abused. So now is the time. We have midterm elections coming. I need a candidate to run just on an airline passenger bill of rights. He'll win in a landslide. She'll win in a landslide. We need that. Not because the airlines are our enemy, but because the airlines need to know that they have to be accountable. They have to be responsible. We are not self-loading human cargo, and we need those rights. All right, moving right along. May I also remind you that here in Claremore, Oklahoma, you know what gas is? $3.45 a gallon. You know what it is in Los Angeles, where I fill up? $7.01 a gallon. Hey, come to Claremore. Home of Will Rogers, by the way. They have an amazing museum here. We shot it yesterday. I mean, here's a guy, when he was born here in Oklahoma, Oklahoma wasn't even a state. It was an Indian territory. But he put Oklahoma on the map. He was the original Johnny Carson. He was the original Stephen Colbert. He was the conscience of America, not late night. There was no such thing as late night back then. But he was the conscience of America that brought us all together to, in a very spirited way, laugh at each other, laugh at ourselves, and question the human condition and try to do better. If you're ever in this part of the woods, please go visit that museum. You'll be enlightened. All right, let's say hello to some folks here. Let's scroll up here. Linda's saying hi from Naples. By the way, Our radio show this weekend on Saturday, Peter Greenberg Worldwide, comes from the Ritz-Carlton in Naples, right there in Southwest Florida. So I hope you'll all listen in. Hello, Linda. Jim and Harriet coming in number 2 today. Wait a minute, where are you? A new location, Martha's Vineyard. Not bad for this time of the year. Jeffrey saying, what South Pacific islands are worth a visit besides French Polynesia, Fiji, Samoa, the Cook Islands, and American Samoa? Well, let's go back to that list. Get a map and take a look at French Polynesia. You're going to be surprised. The actual size of French Polynesia is actually larger than Europe. That's how many islands we're talking about. It's amazing. I know this because we just finished shooting a 1-hour special that's going to air later this year on PBS, Amazon, and Apple TV called Hidden Tahiti. So Tahiti's right in there in terms of French Polynesia, but don't forget the Marquesas and the other islands as well. Fiji, I have always loved Fiji. It's an amazing location. When you get down to Suva, get somebody to take you out to the Lau Archipelago with a longboat. You will not be disappointed. There's, of course, Samoa, the Cook Islands, and American Samoa. You mentioned those. We love Rarotonga as well. That's the Cook Islands. But don't forget the North Pacific. I'm talking about the Northern Caroline Islands, otherwise known as Micronesia. That also includes Guam. Guam is an amazing jumping off part for Micronesia. And if you really want great adventure flying, you fly Air Mike, right? You're hopping with Kwajalein and Majuro and Yap and Truck and Palau. I mean, life-changing experience. All right. Mary Louise is saying good morning from sunny Arizona. And Paul is saying hello from Ashland, Virginia. Priya, of course, is saying she's watching from Chicago. Camilla's in Malibu this time. Okay, nicely done. And Katrina's saying hello from Alabama. Robin's saying, glad to see you finally made it to Oklahoma. I guess you saw the video. Greetings from Williamsburg, Virginia. Just got back from the greatest vacation. Wow. Cruise round trip from LA to Australia and back. Wow. How many days was that? I'm jealous on that one. I mean, I live for what? Days at sea. Okay, Colin says, did you ever get to visit the Will Rogers Museum? Oh, yes. And it's not Claremont, it's Claremore, by the way. I'm curious as to whether there's any exhibit there on his Cherokee ancestry. Oh, very much so. Very much so. In fact, he was known as a roper. He did all these great rope tricks and great videos of him doing that, the old film footage. He was taught that by the Cherokees. Oh, yeah, there's a great story there. Dan saying good morning from Chicago. Gina saying hi from San Diego. Christian is saying visiting family in Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, they are rationing water in the Isla Verde tourist area. It's been an issue for 10 months. Either way, it's always a good time in Puerto Rico. I agree. Puerto Rico, if you take a look, I love the island of Vieques. For those of you who don't know Vieques, for years, it was used by the U.S. Navy as a bombing target. And finally, somebody got smart and the Navy left. Now, once they left, it took them a couple of years to clean up all the debris, remove all the ordnance. Some of these shells exploded, some of them not. But when they cleaned it up, boy, did they clean it up. What a beautiful, beautiful island. And you can either take a ferry over, or it's about a 9-minute flight, propeller flight from San Juan to Vieques. Well worth it. Linda's saying, I have a trip to the EU and UK November, December. I already have the UK visa. Any idea when the EU visa will go into effect? Well, they keep saying any day now, but remember, there's also the new entry-exit system in the EU, so that when you first go there, you're going to be required to physically sign up for it, meaning they're going to take your photograph, they're going to fingerprint you, they're going to obviously get your passport information. But once that's done, it's all then biometric. You're going to go to e-gates, no longer standing in line for 4 hours at the Lisbon airport after you get off your flight to go through passport control. So just be aware of the fact that until they get the system up and running, you may have a 3-hour wait to be able to register for the program, but it's one and done. So just be aware of that. Okay, Priya saying, I'm looking to book a flight ticket to Delhi for February. Most of the tickets are with Etihad, Emirates, Qatar. Is it safe to book through them or go with British Airways, Lufthansa via Europe? Well, you know what? I fly Qatar all the time. I'll be flying Qatar next month to Africa. The other airline I'd look at is Turkish. Turkish flies to more destinations than any other airline in the world. The Istanbul airport is great. It's a great hub. And if you book their flight, guess what? They'll give you 2 free nights in Istanbul, either on the way to or on the way back from Delhi. They'll even throw in the hotel. Check it out. If you're going business class, they'll give you 3 nights. All right. You're absolutely right. Somebody just wrote in, Garrett popcorn is the best. Ed, but what's your favorite flavor? I have 2. The Chicago mix, which is cheddar and caramel. Tremendous. Or I just did the caramel almond. And I'm telling you, it's the best. That's the only saving grace of my experience on American Airlines this week. I got to buy popcorn and frame that meal coupon. Okay. Gina liked my line, self-loading human cargo. It's not my line. You know whose line it is? It's Gary Leff. Gary Leff writes a wonderful column that anybody can subscribe to. It's called viewfromthewing.com. Highly recommended. Great reading. Check it out. Okay. My son lives in Norman, Oklahoma, Michelle says. Okay. By the way, I used to be the Newsweek correspondent based in Houston, and my mandate was Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. I never had a better time than I did covering those 4 states, because as a kid from New York, I knew nothing about these 4 states. And, you know, you're going to Red River County in Texas and Idabel, Oklahoma, and Texarkana, and I mean, oh my goodness, Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And of course, on this particular trip going Route 66 for our television special, I'm visiting more cities that I didn't know. El Reno, Weatherford, and many others. Okay, Yvette's saying hi from Las Vegas, New Mexico. We just finished shooting in New Mexico for Route 66. Kristen's saying hello from sunny Bellingham. Thank you for those nice words, Kristen. Tom is saying, how much money do airlines pay out a year on lost, damaged luggage claims? Guess what? They don't tell you. Because in many cases, airlines will do anything they can not to part with money. So they may offer you a voucher. Don't take it. A voucher has an expiration date. Look, even if they want to pay under depreciated value, take the check. Seriously, take the check. Okay. Robin says the round trip cruise to Australia was, okay, now I'm really jealous. 54 days. Okay, Robin, how many books did you finish? Please tell me 20. And I bet it was the best thing you've ever done, right? You had a time to think, to have great conversations that weren't hurried with everybody else on the ship, to learn, to study, to catch up on movies, to read, and basically to sit out on the deck and think about the human condition. I love it. 54 days. I am truly jealous. All right. Someone's saying hi from Hickory at Delray Beach. Okay. Gina's saying, and take advantage of Istanbul's VIP fast track airport service. Yep, it works, and it's not expensive. All right. A couple of things I want to talk about today, and that is, talk about baggage claim and how much the airlines pay on lost and damaged bags. Here's something else that the airlines don't volunteer to you. I'll explain. You get to the gate. If you're like me, you believe there are only 2 kinds of airline bags, carry-on and lost, all right? Right. So now you take your carry-on to the gate, but you're not in boarding group 1. You're not even in boarding group 2. If you're not in the first 3 boarding groups, that means either you're in the witness relocation program or a fugitive from justice. But either way, those overhead bins are going to be full. And what do the airlines say? I'm sorry, sir, we're going to have to gate check your bag. So what do? You have no choice. I was on a flight recently. There were 53 bags sitting in the jetway that were about to be gate checked. But here's what the airlines won't tell you. The minute they gate check your bag, that bag has the same rights as if you had checked your bag downstairs when you arrived at the airport. The limit of liability, if an airline loses, destroys, misplaces, damages your bag, is $4,700. And that's not per bag. That's per passenger per incident, right? Well, before you get all excited thinking you're going to get a check for $4,700, no. The airlines, when they pay a claim, do not pay based on replacement value. they pay based on depreciated value. So before you finish packing your bag, even if it's a carry-on bag because you don't know if they're going to check it or not, make sure you have all the receipts of everything you bought that's going in that bag. Make sure you take a photograph of everything that's in that bag of value. There's another reason for that, which I'll tell you in a second. And then, via con Dios, see what happens. But if the airline loses your bag and they can't find it, you have other rights that kick in terms of being able to buy certain supplies, clothing, toiletries to get you through where you're going, unless they lose your bag at your home airport. And then there's something else. Remember I told you to take pictures of everything in the bag? The reason for that is this. We are so used to checking our bag, getting on the plane, getting off the plane, rushing like refugees to baggage claim and hoping against hope that our bag was on the same flight that we were, that when the bag comes slowly around that carousel and we see it, we're so excited to see it, we just push in front of everybody else, grab it, and run out of the airport. Every time you do that, you're at risk. Why? Baggage thieves do not steal bags. They steal individual items from bags. And if you don't open your bag up right there at the carousel and make sure everything that's in there was in there when you packed it, and you only discover something's missing when you get home, it's your word against the airlines. And guess what? You lose. All right. So you heard it here first. All right. So now you know about that. One more thing. This one got me really upset the other day. In the old days, that's about 3 weeks ago, of course. But in the old days, when you went online or made an airline reservation on the phone, however you did it with a travel agent, you got to pick your seat. It came with the airline ticket based on the class of service you were in. We all know that's no longer the case. It's all the issue of the ticket upsell. Every airline seat now has a price tag attached to it. And what makes it totally absurd is that some airlines will actually have a price tag on the dreaded middle seat. They determine that a middle seat has more value the closer it is to the front of the plane, even though it's the dreaded middle seat. I was flying from Hawaii to Chicago 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was sitting in the aisle seat in coach. My wife was sitting in the window seat in coach. The middle seat was empty. We hoped it was going to stay empty. But I went online the night before to look at the seating chart, which, by the way, is misleading because you think that's all the inventory that's on that chart. It's not. The airlines hold back about 10% of those seats for their frequent flyers. But that middle seat was empty, and it had a price tag on it. What do you think United Airlines wanted for the middle seat on the Hawaii, Honolulu to Chicago flight? $238. I took a photo. Unbelievable. $238 for a seat you're probably going to get anyway for free. So anytime you go online to a seating chart and you see the only seats available are middle seats with a price tag, under no circumstances do you buy that seat. Just go to the airport. They have control of the seating plan at that moment. And at least 50% of the time, you might get the window of the aisle seat for free. No one should ever pay for a middle seat. Ever. Okay? Just thought I'd mention that. When I saw $238, that was crazy. By the way, as you know, season 11 of our Travel Detective series is now playing on PBS. It will also be airing on Amazon and Apple TV and later on YouTube. Here's a little sneak preview. This week on The Travel Detective, it's the most populated city in South Carolina. It's also where the first shots were fired during the Civil War. But the real history here goes back centuries, way before the cobblestone streets or the stately waterfront mansions, with a culture and tradition that still powers this city today. Let me share with you some of my hidden gems of Charleston. Plus, global warming is causing sea levels to rise. But what does that mean to your driving time on the road if you're visiting coastal communities? And then, freezing weather has always had a chilling impact on air travel. So how do airlines cope and still operate on time? A behind-the-scenes look at how one airline has advanced the critical process of de-icing its planes. I'm Peter Greenberg. All this and more on the next edition of The Travel Detective on PBS. Check your local listing. Gotta love Charleston. By the way, also gotta love Claremore. It's an amazing town. And the food here is great. One warning, the portions are humongous. It's a shared plate time or bags to go. All right. A couple of other things I want to share with you. The TSA is experimenting in 2 airports right now, and I have to tell you, I love this experiment, and I think it's actually working. The experiment's being tried at the Rockford Airport in Illinois, right outside of Chicago, and it's also being tried in Framingham, Mass, outside of Logan in Boston. So let me tell you how it works. You get to the airport in Rockford, and you want to fly from Rockford on American Airlines. So you check your bag. If you're checking a bag, you get your boarding pass. You go through security there, which is like no line, whatever. And you park your car at Rockford. It's like 1/2 the price of what Chicago O'Hare is going to charge you. And do you go to your gate? No. You pass security and get on a bus that drives you from Rockford to O'Hare through the security perimeter and right to your gate because you've already cleared security. How cool is that? One-stop shopping. They're doing the same thing with a remote check-in facility in Framingham, Mass, outside of Boston's Logan. Delta's doing it. JetBlue is doing it. You check in there. You check your bags in there, get your boarding pass, go through TSA security there. No lines. Get on the bus. Again, they bypass the security at Logan because you've already cleared it, and off you go. It relieves a lot of congestion at the airport. It works efficiently. Nobody's waiting in line. And again, parking in Framingham is a whole lot cheaper than parking at Boston's Logan. Let's hope this works in other cities as well, but we like the idea. And there you go. All right. Now, last but not least, I got lots of emails from people who saw the video that I posted, so I'm not going to talk about that because we just did. But now let's just go to the photo of the week. Can we do that? And congratulations to Mel Kamensky. He writes, my family went to Waikiki in Hawaii to celebrate our daughter's graduation, and we got this shot on a walk at sunset. Diamond Head in the background is the iconic symbol of Waikiki. You're right, Mel, it is. And it's also an iconic symbol of Oahu. It's a national natural landmark and is actually the edge of a volcanic cone that is 200,000 years old. By the way, they've got great walking trails there, and you can also do Segway tours out there, which is very cool to do it. It's a great hike and well worth it. By the way, if you think you've got a photo that qualifies as the photo of the week, you know what to do. Send it to photocontest@petergreenberg.com. And if we agree with you that it goes up there next to Mel's, it does go up there right next to Mel's. As I said before, we are leaving here tomorrow, driving to Marshfield in Missouri to continue our shoot on our Route 66 special, and then into St. Louis, and then all through Illinois, ending up in Chicago. So look for that. It's going to air in November, 7-part series on PBS. Of course, this Saturday, the radio show coming from Peter Greenberg Worldwide, the iconic Ritz-Carlton right there on the beach in Southwest Florida in Naples, Florida. I hope you'll join us then. Obviously, we'll be keeping in touch on all the things that are happening between today and Saturday when we air, about what's going on with airfares, what's going on with the situation in Iran, what's going on with the situation with everybody else as a result of the situation in Iran. So please keep in touch on that one. We will see you next week from Illinois. I'm not going to tell you where. It'll be a surprise, and it won't be Chicago, on Global Travel Update again. Have a great rest of the week, folks. Have a great weekend. And again, you're missing out if you don't come to Claremore, and especially the Will Rogers Museum. It is absolutely worth it. I'll see you next week. Anthony, thank you for handling the boards here as well. Have a great rest of the week, everybody.